Hi there, Joe Valenzuela with Vista Mutual Insurance Services. Let's talk about Medicare penalties. I know that this is a very important topic for a lot of people, and I know it's also a way to kind of have a fear tactic about putting some, time limits on when you should do things. So that's not what this is. It's really just to explain to you that there are penalties and there are ways to avoid them, and usually it happens within a timeline. So the purpose of these penalties, because I get asked this all the time, why would Medicare penalize you? Well, the purpose of the penalties is to incentivize you to get on coverage as soon as possible. You see, the way insurance works is people pay into the system, and with those funds, then insurance claims are paid. So we need everybody to join these at the time that they're supposed to in order for the system to work correctly. And if not, then you need to be penalized because that money didn't come in from you. So that is the reason that they institute these penalties, really just to incentivize you to enroll earlier and help the system. Now, there are basically 4 types of penalties that we're going to talk about today, and they all involve around enrolling and your enrollment timeline and when you need to do things. The first is LEP, the Late Enrollment Penalty, and this can be for Part B or Part D. With Part B, we don't usually see this one that often, but it does happen. If you go 12 full months without picking up your Part B when you were eligible to do so, so let's say that you just got your Medicare and you decide, you know what, I don't need Part B, I don't want to pay the premium, you can decide to do that. If you do, though, just know that there's enrollment periods, so you can enroll whenever you want, and for every 12 months, you'll have a 10% penalty for life on that premium. So you can do it. It's not very advisable, though. So that's the first one, the Part B penalty. And again, we usually don't see that one. People usually enroll into their Part B. The next is the Part D penalty. This is for not getting a prescription drug plan when you were eligible to do so, or not having a credible coverage in place before you get one. So let's take that last scenario first. Let's say you're at your employer plan, and you're still working past age 65, like a lot of people do, and your employer sends you a letter, because they have to send this every year, stating whether or not your credit or your coverage is creditable. The only thing that means is that it's as good or better than the Part D standard. Now, most insurance plans that are in the group space, part of your employer plan or your spouse's, are creditable, but some aren't. So let's say they send you this letter and they say your coverage is no longer creditable and you just decide to stay on your coverage. Well, if you stayed on it for, a couple of years, the penalty for that is 1% on the national average of what a Part D plan cost at that time per month that you were eligible and chose not to get it. Now, you do have a grace period there. There's an 8-month period where if you leave your employer, you can still get coverage without having that penalty. There's a 63-day period there that you can get coverage as well. So there's ways to not get it, but you need to know whether or not your current coverage is creditable. And then also, if you're not taking any medications and you're one of those people that says, I'm not taking anything, so why would I pay this extra premium? And that is your right. You can do that too, just like your Part B. You can not have a Part D plan. But again, you're going to get that 1% penalty per month, and you're also not going to be able to enroll but during certain times during the year. So when you really need it, you might not be able to get it. So it behooves you to pick up even just a minimal coverage so that you have coverage in place to get rid of that penalty, and that if something happens to you, you'll have coverage for some expensive medications should you need them. Now, we also have another penalty that sometimes is controversial. It's called the IRMAA penalty, the IRMAA, which stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Now, this was just about 4 years ago, and it will be continuing into the future as long as all the current laws stay into effect like they are now. And what this states is that if you make over a certain threshold, and that threshold is about $90,000 for individuals, this is adjusted gross income on your taxes, and just double that for a couple. Now, if you're making more than that, then they can penalize you not only for your Medicare Part B, as in boy, but for your Part D, as in dog, as well. And the penalties can be somewhat significant depending on what income level of bracket that you fall into. And please reach out to us if you'd like more information about that. We have all those income levels and brackets. They do change a little bit each year, but they stay relatively the same. And we can tell you whether or not you'll hit it. We even tell you exactly how much you'll pay in the penalty portion. So if you're making over that, there is also a 2-year look back. So I know that sometimes you'll be working and making more, and then you'll go into retirement and make less. But it takes about 1 year to 2 years. There is a form that you can fill out to say, my income has changed, and please get rid of that penalty. Now, there are very easy and simple ways to avoid these penalties. First of all, you have to know about them. So it's great that you're watching this video, and now that you know that these are the most common penalties that people get attached to their Medicare. But you really need to know the deadlines. You have to read that Medicare and You handbook or reach out to one of us as an insurance agent. We can guide you step by step through this process to make sure that you don't miss any of the dates. So you need to know when your initial election period is. You need to know when the deadline for that is, when you're going to get a penalty. You want to track these dates too. You know, if you have a calendar or use your iPhone or Android phone, put it inside your calendar. Put late fee penalty with a huge alarm that goes off so that you know that you have to get something done before then. And then you want to understand and research all those options as well. So you don't want to make a decision just to make a decision. I think, sitting down with one of us as an insurance agent for absolutely no cost to you, and then going over all these timelines and deadlines and showing you the plans too, so that you're making a really good decision and not having to rush into it based on not getting a penalty. You need to understand special election periods as well. So when you're coming off of your employer plan, that's considered a special election period. Or actually, any time that you're on your plan, you can choose to go to a Medicare plan if you're 65 and older and Medicare eligible. There's also that 63-day period where you can get a Medicare Advantage plan right after you come off the employer plan without getting that penalty, and up to 8 months that you can do that. So just knowing those and understanding them a little bit will really help you wrap your mind around when you need to get these things done. Also, keep track of your income. If you were thinking about doing a trust right now, or, there's ways for you to adjust your compensation plan in order to not show as much income because you'll get penalized, just keep an eye on that. Keep track of it, or even know it. Know what your adjusted gross income is so that you know in your mind whether or not you're going to get that penalty. And work with one of us. If you really want to wrap your mind around Medicare itself, the enrollment periods, the penalties, how to get rid of them, and then have a guide that walks you through each one of these steps, contact Vista Mutual Insurance Services. We'll walk you through this. We do this every single day, and we are completely free for our clients. If you choose to enroll into a product with us, and we represent all the products that will allow us to, then the insurance company compensates us and also gives us a perpetuity so that in the future, if you have an issue or concern, you can contact us directly and we can handle it at the local level. Now, all these penalties can be very confusing, and they're designed as advertisers use them as a design to use a fear-based tactic to make you want to enroll in something right now. If you take a proactive approach and learn this stuff about a month, 2 months out before you're becoming Medicare eligible, then you won't be tricked by that fear tactic. You'll know the penalties exist, you'll know how not to be penalized, and make a really good decision about your insurance. So we really want you guys to comment, ask questions on this video, and subscribe. We love to bring you all this content. But without the subscriptions and comments and interaction, then we won't do these videos anymore. So please subscribe, listen, comment, say whatever you'd like, and we will respond back to you. For Vista Mutual Insurance Services, this is Joe Valenzuela. Until next time.